Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the Brother PE570 embroidery machine. This is a favorite among beginners and also intermediate embroiderers. And if you're anything like me, when you buy a new machine, you want to get sewing as fast as possible. So I'm going to walk you through its features and then show you exactly how to set it up and use it and get all ready for your first embroidery design. So let's get started. So this is everything that comes with your machine. You're going to get this little bag full of all kinds of little goodies. Let's dump these out and see what you get here. You're going to get some netting for embroidery thread. It likes to kind of fall off the spool, so you're going to get netting for that. You're going to get 3 different spool-sized little stopper things to hold your thread in place. In addition to these 3, you also get this one, and I find that this is the most important one. So when you dump it out like I did, make sure you don't lose this. This is important. They're also going to give you a bunch of bobbins that are already wound with thread, which is really convenient. They give you like 4 of them. Mine came with 4. You're going to get this handy little tool here that I'll show you how to use later. You're going to get some extra needles. The machine does come with a needle installed, and then they give you a couple extra too. Every 8 hours, you should change your needle to a new needle. And so with embroidery, you'll see the stitch will give you how much time it's going to take once you pull it up. Each embroidery design could take up to 30 minutes. So you'll be going through needles quite a bit. So get used to that on this machine. Make sure you have lots of extra needles. This another little tool here. It's like a little screwdriver to remove things and add things. This is your embroidery hoop, and it's magnetic. You'll see like that. So you're going to be setting up your fabric or any other thing you're going to embroider in here, and it adjusts here and it hooks into the machine here. And then this little guide is so helpful. This is going to fit right in here, and it shows you, get it lined up here, it shows you exactly where your embroidery is going to be. So even though this hoop looks pretty big, it's like 5 by 7, this machine only embroiders a 4 by 4 area at a time. So you can embroider into here and then move your fabric over and continue your pattern. I'll be showing you how to do that, but this is a good guide when you load your embroidery hoop. This is going to show you where it's going to go. And then these holes, you could actually draw through these to mark your fabric too. But that's a good guide to show you. So this thing's very handy too. So that looks like that's about it. And then this is the actual embroidery arm. So we have the machine, the embroidery arm, and the power cable. Those are all the things that you're going to want to get all set up first. You'll notice one thing that doesn't come with this machine that you might expect to see is a foot pedal. This machine doesn't have a foot pedal. You're not going to be steering this. You're going to be using this button right here to sew. So let's get started. Let's get it all set up and show you how to start embroidering. The first step before you turn on the machine is to attach the embroidery arm. You'll notice here this shows don't touch this part. This is the free motion part. You don't want to get in the way of this at all, and make sure there's no fabric or anything blocking this when it's set up to the machine. To remove it, underneath here you see this little gray latch. You're going to click that and slide it out. To install it, all we have to do is line it up and click it into place. You'll hear it click like that. So this is going to move it on its own, so be careful of that. And so we're going to just turn it on the right side here. And it's got an LCD display here that's going to show a little movie. You'll notice red means it's not ready to sew, so that's good. That's what we want. And this little movie set up here, you just have to touch the screen to get it going. And you hear that it gets into position there. And then it says remove the embroidery frame. This is the embroidery frame. Never have this attached when you click this on. Always make sure this is removed. This is how you should start up your machine, and it'll warn you here. Make sure you remove that. Don't press OK here until this is off. Just make sure this is always disconnected and off to the side. So I'm going to say OK there. Now we have our general information here. So the first thing we should do, we should get this machine all set up. There's a touch screen here, and there's also buttons here. We're going to be using a combination of both all the time. So let's get started by using this button here, and you'll see it looks like a piece of paper. And this is going to get me into all my setups. The way I know how much there is in this section is, see this 1 over the 10? That means I'm on page 1 of 10. To get all the way across, we're going to use these buttons. It seems like you would use buttons in here. You don't. You use them here. So let's scroll through. Now, the first step here, you're going to see mine is set to inch. It's going to start set to millimeters. Millimeters are great because they're really exacting and you don't have like 1.65 inches. It's a lot easier to deal with, but if you're not used to working in millimeters, just click this button here over and it'll set you to inch. And that's fine. You're done. You're done with that. So let's go through again. So that was page 1 is there. Page 2 is where we set the inches. Let's go to page 3. Again, these are all thumbnail, different things we'll get into later. But just to get started, we want to make sure it's set to English, if you speak English. I like the buzzer on. I like the opening screen on. You can click these off. And then needle position up or down, that decides when the machine stops. Do you want the needle to stop down into the fabric, or do you want it to stop up, off, out of the way? I think it's much better to have it to the right here where it stops up out of the way, so that just in case you take your embroidery hoop off and you slide it off, you'll break your needle. So always leave it up so that you can pull it out of the way. And English, of course, for me. And then we're going to go to next. This light here, you can have this on or off. I don't know why you would want to turn it off. Maybe it's in a bedroom, you don't want it to go or something like that, but I like my light on. And then input sensitivity for the buttons. If the buttons are, if you're struggling with the buttons, like you push it and it doesn't work, or it's pushing too quick before you're ready, you can change this input sensitivity, but I would just leave it there for now. So I'm on page 5 here of 10, you can see. And then this is all my version and everything. This is how many times it's been serviced and all that. We don't really need to mess with that right now. This is pretty important. This is where you're going to connect it to internet. If you have wireless internet in your home, you're going to want to get this set up, and you can just go to this setup here wizard, and it's really easy. You just need your password for your Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, that's fine. There's other ways to get embroidery patterns into your machine, but this is how you want to set this up. And if you ever want to take it off Wi-Fi, you can push off and it'll disconnect from your Wi-Fi. And then you can name your machine here. Make sure you name it something, because when you drop files to this, you're going to want to see that that's what I'm dropping it to. I'm dropping it to the So Practical, So Fun machine. You can change this very easily. So I would go into here and make sure you named your machine whatever you want to name your machine, so that you can see it when you try to drop files to it. We'll go over that later. And then again, the reason why you want to have it connected to internet is you can check for updates. Make sure the newest version is installed. Make sure you're totally up to date on everything on your machine. And then next, this again is just the ID. I can change this ID if I want to. And that's, you see here, that's page 10 of 10, so we're good there. So we can just say, okay, back to the main screen. You have patterns and letters. And then here we have some shapes. So we can just kind of go into here and see what they have. See here, 1 of 7. So there's 7 pages to this. And this is kind of showing me the designs that come with the machine. And I can select any one of these and take a look at it. I can also go back here if you want to go back. Let's look at these, see what they have here. There's 4 here. Again, you can select it, or you can go back. And here's some lettering. These are like monogram lettering, and then there's also regular lettering. See here, 1 of 2, so there's 2 pages here of different letters that we can use. Here is shapes, all different shapes that you can select, and then within each shape, see here, 1 of 3. So of the hearts, there's this many different heart shapes that we can do. Then here is, it looks like a little pocket. Let's push on that. There's 4 different ways that we can get embroidery designs to our machine. We have the ones that are already on the machine. These are ones that I have saved down to the machine. That's this first one. Then this one, you can connect your flash drive to it. There's a flash drive spot on the side here. This one is airdropping. You can airdrop it. And this one is from the cloud. So this is going to connect if you have software, and I'll be showing you the software as well. It's called Artspira. This way you can save it to that software, and then it'll connect wirelessly back and forth. And it'll save that design just for the time that it embroiders it. And then when you go back, it sets and clears it out. You can also save it back down to your machine if you want. So all your saved designs will be here in this first one. And then here is showing my Wi-Fi signal. It's saying how much Wi-Fi do I actually have going. One important button down here is this one. When I push that, you'll see it looks like this. That's going to stop the machine from doing anything. Because we're working with our hands here and we don't have a foot pedal that controls it, we could accidentally push this button while we're changing the foot or changing the thread. So this is like your safety. This is always set the machine to this look when you're doing anything with it. You're going to push that button and it's going to save you from getting hit with the needle or breaking the needle or hitting the embroidery arm, anything like that. And then to get rid of it, you just push it again. So if your machine ever doesn't work, look at your screen and make sure you hadn't touched that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our machine all threaded and loaded. The first thing we do is load the bobbin. So I'm going to be using this thread here, this shape of this little embroidery cone. So this is the stopper I'm going to be using, and I'm going to go ahead and wind the bobbin with this one. You can buy bobbins pre-wound. Just make sure that the weight of the thread on the bobbin matches the weight of the thread that you're going to be using on the top of the machine. It'll say like hashtag or #90 or something like that. Make sure they're balanced so that your tension stays balanced. But for this example, I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And one thing I've noticed is with this style, if I can show you here, the thread comes off this very easily. See how it's just kind of falling off? That can be an issue with getting your bobbin wound really tight. So what I like to do, see how I can't even wrap it around, it's just falling right off. So what I like to do is use these little netting, these little mesh webs, I would call them, and I like to put it over that and have the thread coming out so that it holds it a little tighter to the spool and keeps my tension correct. These little netting things are usually pretty big, so I cut them down so that they fit just over the spool like that. I don't want it too much farther. And then I'm going to have the thread coming out this way. So I just pull the thread through like that and then load this little mesh on here and pull it. See, now it's going to come out. You can see that. Now it's going to come out and see how it's holding it tighter like that. Then I'm going to load it onto my spool pin here and then get my little topper. And I like to put this on and then get it all set up with my spool like that and then push them together tight. Make sure it's real tight against there. Now this isn't going to move. Okay, so now we can thread it through. Here's our guide. The dotted line is the guide for the bobbin winding, and the straight line is the guide for the machine thread top. So you can see the guide there. So let's go ahead and follow it. We're going to do, and I like to hold like this, like almost like floss. We're going to click under there. You can hear it kind of snap in. We're going to bring it around here. And then this one, you're going to go, that's number 2. And then number 3 is right here. So I'm going to bring it this way, bring it around, and then do like a U-turn around that. And that's our little tension guide. And it should feel pretty tight there. It shouldn't feel loose like it's going to fall out. Like you can see, I can let go of it and it's going to stay in there. That means you're in there. You're in the little tension disc, and then it's going to wind your bobbin correctly. Now for the bobbin, the owner's manual actually says to do it differently, and I do believe it's wrong. The one thing I've seen that I didn't like with the written instructions for this machine is it said to just wrap it around the bobbin. I never do that. You never get a good wind on your bobbin that way. The best way to wind your bobbin is to get your thread from the center middle of your bobbin up through that hole there. We're going to go up through and pull it through. Then while you're holding the thread and you're holding the bobbin, you're going to stick it onto here, push it all the way down, and then to activate it, see I'm still holding the thread, and then to activate it, you click it over, and you'll notice your button here turns orange. That means it's ready to go, but it's only going to spin here. It's not going to, the needle, nothing down there is going to move. So then I hold it up and out, and I wind maybe 3 or 4 seconds. And with my other hand, I make sure this thread is up so that it's locking this into place right there. So let me show you how I do that. I start it, hold this up, and then pull this up like that. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now I'm going to pull this thread tight and cut as close to the bobbin as I can. This is going to hold that loose end in place as tight as possible so that when I start sewing and I get almost to the end of this bobbin, it's still held tight. If it's too loose, it could mess up your embroidery pattern because underneath it's actually coming off the bobbin. It'll come out of all the tension discs and everything, and you'll get too loose of a stitch. So this is a really good way to keep it really tight. And then I'm just going to use the orange button to fill this bobbin the rest of the way. Now when it's done, you'll see that stops, but the machine didn't stop. So you have to stop it yourself. So you have to stand here and watch. You can't just let it go and think it'll stop on its own. It stops winding, but the motor is still going. And because I let it run a little bit, see how it pulled this off? We had a little issue going on here. So make sure you're watching this and you'll see it start to stagger. As soon as it starts to stagger, stop it. If you want to get more thread on your bobbin, it is possible to load this up a little heavier. Make sure you watch my next video on troubleshooting. I'm going to show how to load more thread on your bobbin without this happening. So now we're just going to push this back, pop it off, and then I'm going to trim this and get the machine threaded. And so we can see that's a beautiful, that is the way you want your bobbin to be threaded. Okay, so let me show you real time how long it takes to thread the machine. That is, of course, the foot is up and the needle is in the topmost position. So again, we're going to start by grabbing the thread up the top and holding it with our right hand. And now as I go, I'm going to count off the different points and you can see how fast we're actually going to be threading our machine. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 and 6. And there's up through 7 into our threader. I'm going to thread the machine, thread the needle, pull it through, lift the foot up. We are threaded. That's how fast it goes. Then you just have to push it through the bottom of the foot and you're ready to go. That's how fast this machine threads, which is super awesome. Now let's go really slow and show each step in detail. So when we thread the top thread of the machine, now instead of this dotted line guide, we're going to be following this solid line guide. So you'll see the dotted line guide comes around and it uses this post here. And you come back through here and then you turn around that and come off this way. This is not in play when we load the top thread. So the top thread is going to be the same first two, this one and this one. But then instead of this one, we're going to come down this opening here on this side. We're going to curve around. We're going to come up towards the right side of this groove here. And then there's this little metal hook here. So we're actually going to come up. And then you can see number 4, we're going to come around and then go down the left side of this groove. And so you're going to get into that hook there. And so I can move this so you can see how it's moving there. So you want to make sure you catch that one. If you don't catch that one, it's not going to sew. And then you're going to come down the right. So let's start it here from the top. When you thread the machine, you're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to be threading this an awful lot because every time you change color, you have to pull this spool off and do it again. So we're going to get this ready here. I like to hold the end here. Here's my end of my thread. It's kind of hard to see because it's a light color. So when I thread my machine, I do the whole thing in one fluid motion, and I keep a hold of the thread with my right hand at all times. I rest my hand on top of the machine. I have my fingers like this, pinched with the thread, and I never let it go. So I'm going to take the end. I'm going to click it under there. I still have it pinched. I'm going to bring it down here, come up through the right side. See how I can even push against the plastic, come around and back down the left, and then I can do the front of the machine. So that is going to be the look, and I'm not going to let go of this the whole time. I'm going to keep this on hold. But let's see what it looks like the way you're going to see it. You're going to be sitting in front of your machine. So let's see what this looks like from this direction. Okay, so when you're ready to thread your top thread, there's two things you want to do before you start threading the thread. We need to make sure that the needle is in the perfect upright position. Now I can crank this hand crank here. See how I can make the needle move into any position I want, and it'll just stop wherever I stop moving this wheel on the side. But we need the needle to be at the very perfect top position. So the way we do that is we push this button, and that's going to bring the needle into position. You'll see it's up here. If I press it again, it stops down. So you need to make sure that you press it. Usually you have to press it twice depending on where it is. Just press it until it's at this top position. And you'll see we have red here. This is good. The other thing we want to do is we want to make sure the foot is up. So if I have the foot down, it's going to change the position of everything. But if I raise it up like this, so if the foot is down, the tension discs close. And we want the tension discs open when we thread it. We want to make sure they get right into that groove perfectly. So make sure the needle is up and make sure the foot is up. The other thing you can do, just in case you touch this button, you can see it's red, so it's not going to do anything, and it's going to say, hey, you have to lower the presser foot. The manual likes you to push this button too, and that puts it in a position where it's not going to sew no matter what. Nothing's going to make it sew. So they like you to be in that position to want to thread the machine. So let's go ahead and thread it here. I got my thread here. I got it pinched between my two fingers on my right hand, and I'm going to hold it the whole time. This is what it's going to look like every time you change your thread. And so I'm going to hit those first 2 points at the top. I'm going to come down this groove right there and come around here. Then I'm going to come up the right. You can see there. Come up the right, come around to the left, and then bring it down to the left here. Always keep hold of this. And then with my thumb, I kind of put the thread on my thumb here and I push it in. And then number 6 is right there. So it's this little metal, it's like a little metal hook right there. And then there's this groove in between the metal here. So I'm going to put my thread through there, and then that lines me up perfectly to go to number 7 here. In between these two gray plastic, I can push it and it'll go right into there. Did you hear it click? It actually clicks. Let's listen. That actually clicks into place. That is the needle threader. And then over to the side here, there's a thread cutter too. So we're going to hook it into there, and then to thread the needle, we're going to bring the foot down, and then over here, we're going to push this down. See how I pushed it, but not all the way. See as I push all the way, see how that clicks into place? So I can't go down any further. And then I'm going to let this come back up. Now behind the needle is this little loop of thread. And there, now I can lift the foot back up and pull the excess through. So then the last step is we're going to just push this through, make sure it doesn't get hooked on that or anything. And now we're under that and we're through this. So now we're ready to wind the bobbin. So I have my thread through my foot, through the hole in the foot, and I want this off to the left and back, not under this, but off to the left and back a couple inches. I want it at least to the back of the machine. And now we're gonna thread the bobbin in. So the way we do that is we make sure that it looks like the thread is coming off the top of the bobbin. See, as I pull the thread, get it lined up here. See, as I pull the thread, it's turning, the bobbin is turning counterclockwise, and the thread looks like it's coming off the top. If I flip it this way, you'll see, if I still pull it off, now it's coming off the bottom and it's going clockwise. See that? That's not what we want. We want it this way, off the top, and then you just drop it right in and make sure you keep your finger on top of the bobbin so it's tight and it doesn't move. Then we're gonna bring it around that gray hook right there. And then we're gonna follow this channel all the way around. Let it spin just a little bit, and then there's a cutter right there. Cut it off. That's it. And then this little notch there goes right into that spot there. And it clicks down and you are ready to go. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to pull the bobbin thread up or anything. You just get your hoop loaded and you're ready to start embroidering. Be sure to like and subscribe for part 2, where we're going to learn how to set up the embroidery hoop with fabric and start the embroidery process. Thanks so much for watching.